From League Safe World Headquarters, it's Fantasy Football Almost Daily. With Paul Charchian, Matt Harrison, Christian Peterson, and Brian Johnson.
It's Tuesday. Welcome to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. I'm Paul Charchian, Matt Harrison, Brian Johnson. It's Tuesday, so that means we're talking free agents.
Is it Tuesday?
It is.
Okay.
Well, it's Tuesday for us. For you,
all right.
Who knows? Could be a totally different Tuesday for all we know. But then watching your our Week 7 recommendations just don't mean as much.
Yeah, if you're watching this on Thursday, thanks.
Nor next Tuesday. Yes. This is probably the slowest set of free agents we've had all year.
Which is what we've said each of the last 2 weeks.
I think we have. I think you're right about that.
It
keeps getting worse. Yeah, we've hit a new low. I want to start the running back position because I think this has the most value, and because of the Packers situation, playing Thursday night, Eddie Lacy out. There's a little more intrigue here about guys you could pick up on the waiver wire and have the Packers starting running back potentially. Two guys. Don Jackson is the practice squad guy they made active on Monday, and he. We know a little. I watched a couple of YouTube highlights.
Is this the Don Jackson that went to Nevada, right?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
it is. The 5'10"
Yeah.
Don Jackson,
Wears number
210
34.
pounds.
You know, I believe he spent a year at Iowa Western Community College
think he
before
didn't?
going to Nevada.
Yeah, how about
Yeah,
that?
everyone knows that.
Yeah,
but
that's
that's
common
what everybody
knowledge.
knows.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to tell you is his unique combination of balance and speed. Ooh.
What? Then why is he on the practice squad?
Actually, his balance is really good. I watched 2 minutes of Don Jackson highlights. That's the one discernible trait. that I saw.
Were they Cirque du Soleil highlights or something like that?
Not that kind of balance.
That's what I was
Not
about
like
to
on
say.
a tightrope. No.
Then when you factor a football in, then it gets a little dicey for Don Jackson.
Yeah, no, it's
His equilibrium goes boom.
He did well in Nevada's offense, whatever that says. But Nevada has turned out a couple other pro players. I think Nate Burleson went to Nevada. I think.
He might have been UNLV.
Yeah, you might be right. I could be wrong. There's somebody. Did Kaepernick
Yeah,
go to Nevada?
I think Kaepernick went to Nevada.
Kaepernick went to Nevada.
He transferred there. Didn't he go to
Yeah.
University of Wisconsin Stout or something like that?
No, we didn't go to Wisconsin.
When in doubt, go Stout.
Okay. Anyway, if it comes down to Jackson or Niall Davis, who they traded for, first trade in 4 years or whatever for the Packers,
6
years for the Packers, then I think I would go with the guy who knows the system. This is a little bit like Zach Zenner and Justin Forsett. Zenner, because he knew the terminology and knew where to line up and everything, ended up having the advantage, and because he didn't look putrid, he ended up getting all the carries last week. I think it's going to be the same thing with Don Jackson versus Niall Davis. I can't believe we're talking about this, but yes.
Or Ty Montgomery, maybe. We'll get to him in a little bit, though.
Well,
Yeah.
no, he has to go. He has to go play wide receiver now because Adams is out.
I think Jeff Janis might be in at the wide receiver position, and you might see Ty Montgomery line up in the backfield quite a bit in this game. He lined up in the backfield a fair amount
last week, but they only had one. They only had one active running back, Lacy, and
it's possible that since they traded for Niall Davis on a Tuesday morning and they play Thursday night, Niall Davis might not be ready to go. Maybe Mr. Jackson might not be ready to go either. Ty Montgomery has a shot to be kind of the starting running back this week. Doesn't matter that he wears an 88.
No, it doesn't.
He's
but
got
I
a
don't
chance.
think it's happening. I would be surprised. I think they will use their practice squad guy as their starting running back, an actual running back. And with Adams out, I think they want Montgomery to play his natural position. I guess we'll find out. I wouldn't pick up Niall Davis if I need to start. The only reason I'm picking up either one is I believe I'm gonna have to start him on Thursday.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not even touching this. But if you do have to start somebody on Thursday, I'm going with Don Jackson for the reasons I already articulated, and then you make that move. It shouldn't cost you much to get him.
This is where you need like pennies in free agent budget.
60 cents.
For the Don Jacksons of the world.
Mike Gillislee is a lot more interesting to me. So the Bills run the third most running plays in the NFL. About 50% of their plays are running plays. It's a lot in today's NFL. And LaShawn McCoy obviously has been the workhorse. He's injured frequently, not right now, although he got knocked out of last week's game and Gillislee came in and looked good. But we have a long history of McCoy getting dinged up.
Yep.
At some point, Gillislee's going to end up being the starter for some series of games, right?
Shady looked like his season was over for a minute when he first got hurt.
He
I don't know if
did.
you saw that. He was writhing in pain, holding his knee. I was like, oh, that's all she wrote. But yeah, I'm with you. Gillislee, a clear handcuff he should have been on your roster if you're a McCoy owner. And if he's available now and you own Shady, go grab him.
Well,
because
according to what I am looking at here, your fine work printed out that we can get at League Safe Post with your free agent recommendations. He's available in 96% of leagues.
not in my
Mike
league.
Gillislee.
He was my last sleeper of the preseason. I knew it's coming.
This day was
happening.
coming.
Yep.
You knew this day would come?
I think on Gillislee, if you're a McCoy owner, I'm pretty aggressive on this. I'm bidding like 15, 20% to get that handcuff squared away. If I'm not, and I'm just trying to pick up a lottery ticket, then I'm probably bidding closer to 7 to 12%.
Can
I think
agree
that's
there.
fair.
Sound right?
I think
Yeah.
Gillislee was a top 10 running back almost last week with 6 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he might have been.
Yeah, so
He might have been.
they might have exotic smash mouth tendencies up in Buffalo now.
Rob Kelly got some work behind Matt Jones last week. Now, Matt Jones has been brutal for most of the season. Had a good game last week with a couple of different long runs. I think he totaled
He was over 100 yards with the touchdown.
131
Yeah.
yards last week for Matt Jones. But we also saw Rob Kelly with a long run as well, and he's getting more work now. This is another I don't know 2-3% kind of play.
Is this a situation where because Jordan Reed is out of the offense, they're just trying to figure out different things to do with their offense, and maybe Matt Jones and Rob Kelly are more involved because they don't have Jordan Reed now?
It seemed like they used Vernon Davis for a lot of that same work.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Kadeem Carey. Somebody I can't imagine I want on my team, but we did see Jordan Howard, who was getting like all the work because nobody else was healthy. We saw that tick down a little bit last week.
Yeah, he was under 70% of the snaps for Howard when he was over 90 in his 2 starts. So yeah, that's purely a handcuff play too for deeper leagues. But Carey looked decent. Oh, he had 9 carries for 50 yards, something like that. Howard had 15 for like 30, so he didn't do very well. He did score, saved his day. But if you're in a deeper league, you're going to want to grab Carey if you're banking on Howard for your running back depth. So
We are getting into we're
1%
not there yet.
tops. Of
We're
course.
getting into handcuff territory of the season. Usually it's closer to like week 10. So we're
once
ways
you're
away
through
yet.
with most of your bye
Yeah, once you're
weeks.
through the bye,
Yeah.
so when you start cobbling together more of the handcuffs. That's exactly right. Let's go to the quarterback position. I'm recommending Trevor Siemian for deeper leagues, 2 quarterback leagues, because his next 4 matchups are all so ridiculously positive. He gets Houston's secondary, which may be missing 3 starters for this game.
Kevin Johnson out for the season.
Yeah, Kevin
right?
Johnson is out. Joseph may be out. One of their safeties, Q, I forget his name. It has a Q in it. Quentin something. I don't know. They're missing a
That
safety
guy.
as well. That guy out. So he's got that option. Then after that, he's got the Chargers without Jason Verrett. Then he's got the Raiders and the Saints. It doesn't get the matchups for a passer doesn't get any easier than that, really.
No.
So Trevor Siemian, and by the way, as a side note to that, you could consider trading for Sanders or Thomas as well.
With Trevor Siemian, if you're in a 1 quarterback league, you're probably not looking at him right
No,
now.
you're not.
But if you have a quarterback that's got a bye week in the next 4 weeks, now's probably the time to
you
pick
go
him
get
up
him.
because
Yeah, maybe.
somebody else will pick him up and use him as a
Sure.
bye week fill-in and maybe hang on to him and just kind of give you the block there.
All right, what'd you think about Colin Kaepernick? I'll let you go first.
I didn't think much of him. He ran well.
So did Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
He did. So
The
first
Torrey
half,
Smith touchdown was pretty much
it was
all
a
Torrey
fluke.
Smith.
It was
Yeah,
a fluke
all-
play anyway.
yeah.
Totally broken coverage. So I can't give Kaepernick a lot of credit for completing a pass to a wide open receiver who then had to beat basically nobody to get into the end zone. He was efficient in the first quarter. I think he was like 11 of 14 passing in the first quarter. And I'm like, if he can do that, and he'd run for like 30, 40 yards at that point. I'm like, well, if he can just do that, all right. I mean,
He's
he might be
viable
helpful.
fantasy
He might be
quarterback, yeah.
helpful for his team, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Second half, I think I'm not kidding. I think he completed 4 passes in the entire second half. Utter train wreck in the second half for Kaepernick. The Bills got to look at him for a half and went, all right, we got this figured out. So I'm not optimistic about him, and I don't want him on my team. I'd rather have Trevor Siemian than Colin Kaepernick.
Or if you're looking for a spot starter, I rather have Cody Kessler this week.
Cody
I like
Kessler's
him
actually
against
played
the
okay.
Bengals, which is a good matchup.
Yeah.
What bodes well for Kaepernick maybe this week is Carlos Hyde was seen in a sling. So if he doesn't play for whatever reason on Sunday, Kaepernick could see even more of an uptick in his rushing yards. But that's really what you're banking on at this point is his rushing over his passing stats.
Right. Kaepernick has been named the starter for next week's game, which originally they did not do, which is telling in and of itself.
You kind of just have to hope that Chip Kelly just throws everything out the window and just is like, we're going to go with a read option with Kaepernick the entire time and pitch it to Sean Drone and just have him run. And we hope that he gets above 100 yards and that kind of thing, rushing.
That's all Colin Kaepernick is a rushing game lottery ticket in which he has been dreadful at that for he was good
2 years.
Really for 2 years. 2015 in the first half when he was still the starter. 2014 wasn't running.
Yep.
Maybe that'll change. Let's go to the wide receivers. We mentioned Kenny Britt in our free agency article last week. A little peacocking right there because we saw easily the 136 yards and 2 touchdowns coming. We saw it clearly last week. So those of you that already
congrats
picked him up,
you too.
That's right. Meanwhile,
Too bad I was all over Tavon Austin last week. I had the wrong Rams.
he had the wrong Rams receiver.
Wrong Rams receiver, but that's
Tavon Austin is always the wrong Rams receiver. So there's your
Could be.
takeaway. He's actually Kenny Britt's actually topped 65 yards in 5 of 6 games this year. So mostly he'll probably literally never have another 136-yard 2-touchdown game the rest of his career.
Probably not.
It's probably done. He's topped out right now. But if you're cool with 5-6 receptions, 65, 75, 85 yards, he's been banking that almost every week.
If you got 2 really strong wide receivers like you're rocking Julio and Kelvin Benjamin as your wide receiver 1 and 2, then you could probably get away with Kenny Britt as your wide receiver
your
3.
third.
Especially not so much this week. Not a great matchup with the Giants, but weeks 8 and 9 are the apocalypse.
The bipocalypse?
Yeah.
Bipocalypse?
Six teams on bye each week
Yeah.
in week 8 and 9, so everyone's in play in week 8.
Including Kenny Britt.
Especially Kenny Britt. Yes.
Jamison Crowder dropped in a lot of leagues after a slow start. But, one of the things I love about slot players, slot receivers you can usually identify who that slot defender is going to be and then start to piece together whether or not this is going to be an opportunity for you. If memory serves, they've got Detroit coming up this week, and that's a potentially very positive matchup.
And he's almost the opposite of your stereotypical slot receiver because he's more active in the red zone for the Redskins than between the 20s where your prototypical slot guys get most of their work. But he's very, very much involved in the red zone for Washington. So if with Reed out, him and Garcon should be on rosters.
See, I think the guy to move on is not Garcon. I think it's Josh Doxson, who at this point should be coming back from ankle. And is it ankle?
Ankle and
Achilles.
ankle
It's
foot,
ankle.
something in there.
Achilles
Yes.
was the
Yeah.
main one I remember.
And remember with the limited playing time he had early in the season? Do you remember what distinguished him early in the season?
No, but you're about to tell me.
Yes, I am. They threw him in the end zone a ton, Josh Doxson.
Oh, yeah, like 3 straight plays on one drive, I
Yep,
remember.
they just kept just peppering balls to him at the end zone. So if that's indicative of how they want to use Josh Doxson, I'm kind of intrigued.
Like that angle.
I know Garcon's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. He's going to be gone. At some point, they want this transition to happen. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they put him out too early tells me that they want it to happen.
There.
So I don't know for sure when he's coming back, but it just feels like he should be back soon. And if we start getting any reports of him practicing, I want in on Josh Doxson.
And Deshaun Jackson's due for an injury at any moment, too.
Yeah, that's a good
I don't
point.
like to say stuff like that, but he
taking
seems to
time
always
bomb
miss a
sorts.
couple games every year.
All right. We mentioned Ty Montgomery earlier. I think you're banking on him having a role either at receiver or running back. That could make sense.
Yeah, he's going to get touches on Thursday one way or the other.
He's gonna get touches.
Devontae Adams, unlikely to play, I would imagine, in concussion protocol on a short week. So
Right. I don't think he goes.
yeah, Montgomery's going to be all over the field.
I think that's true. Let's go to tight ends. Talk to me about the wholly unremarkable talent of Charles Clay.
I think you just did. You said it all there. So yeah, he's
a warm body. He's a warm body in a passing game that doesn't have enough warm bodies.
Yeah.
And he's got a revenge game this week.
No, not a revenge.
What's his revenge game this week?
They're in Miami, aren't they? Buffalo.
Oh, I forgot he was a Miami Dolphin. Yeah, he got paid stupid money on that move in free agency like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got killed on that deal. What do you think about Jack Doyle? Now that Dwayne Allen's got the ankle injury, he's going to miss at what is already being described as multiple games with the. They haven't called it a high ankle sprain, but I think it is going to turn out to be one.
Yeah, he's week to week now, I heard.
Yeah.
So
I think Doyle's completely replaced Fleener in that offense, and
Yeah.
and that was viable in the past couple of years. Is kind
When
of your,
one of them was down.
yeah, kind of as your
Yeah.
12th, 13th tight end in a league. So, with the bipocalypse coming up, Jack Doyle's a guy that you should keep on your radar to plug and play.
All right, these are a lot of 1% type guys
Yeah.
here. Although you did not have a percent on your Jack Doyle write-up, by the way, just as a side note.
I'll go fix that. No, I did fix. It's on the
It's already
internet.
fixed.
It says
All right.
11% right
Ah, okay.
there.
What?
Well,
No,
that's his owner.
No,
That's
that's
his
his
own
ownership
ownership rate.
percentage. It's got an ambiguous 11% written there that is not obvious what that 11% means.
11% bid on.
That's too much.
That's way too much.
All right, because you mentioned him, I want to mention CJ Fedorowicz. We want to make a case for CJ Fedorowicz?
Sure.
No?
Well,
don't feel
Osweiler
don't feel
throws to
obliged
his tight ends a lot. What do I have there? They're averaging over 12
10
targets
10
per
times
game.
per game.
There
And
you go,
he's
kid.
the primary one. So we had 6 for 85 and a touchdown
Yes.
on Sunday night. So it's desperation times. But if you're really in need of a tight end, CJ Fedorowicz is your guy.
Ugh. This has been.
Has
the
it really
least
gotten down to that?
appealing-
This is
the
like-
least appealing one of these we've ever done.
This is why at the end of the podcast we tell everybody this is like the worst podcast ever.
Yeah, for
Well, hey,
sure.
averaging 7 targets over the last 3 games, scored twice.
What happens tomorrow, though? The Panic Room.
Oh gosh.
It's the Panic Room tomorrow. You want to give people a preview?
Yeah, this is how it's gonna look tomorrow.
Yeah, baby.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that.
Whoa.
Nice.
You're not gonna be here
I
though.
won't be
You're
here.
not gonna. Why not?
So I'm the loser. I've been relegated.
You've been relegated.
Yeah.
Don't forget the scepter. Thank you. Very nice.
Yep.
I like it.
We're ready.
Yep. Your reigning champion in the Panic Room. 5 guys over which people are panicking. We'll see if Matt Harrison can retain the throne as the best Panic Room analyst tomorrow, Wednesday. See you then.